Hello and welcome to News Tonight. I am Rhoda Ngonzi. Elizabeth Nakakoni joins us on sign language. We will start with President Yoweri Museveni, who has asked the Muslim community in Uganda to continue observing the COVID-19 SOPs during this Ramadan period. This was contained in the President's Ramadan message to the Muslim fraternity in the country.
The Ugandan Muslim community, I have the pleasure yet again to wish you a blessed month of Ramadan. May this month remind you to continue with all good deeds by lending a helping hand to those in need, but observing the corona regulations, the SOPs. I would like to join the Muslim community in reaffirming the universal principles that bind us together as human beings: love, compassion, justice, peaceful coexistence, and mutual respect. I commend the Muslim fraternity for the good work done and maintaining good relationships with other religious denominations in building our nation. I appeal to you to pray for peace and prosperity of our nation, and I pray that at the end of the month of Ramadan, our prayers and supplications will be granted and rewarded. As I've said already, I remind you to observe the COVID-19 standard operational procedures, which has been put in place by the government through the Ministry of Health. We have been through the corona for now more than a year. On account of the strict measures we took, we have minimized death. I think up to now, about 337 Ugandans have died, including prominent people. However, in other countries, you know what has happened. Many more people have died. So please, even in this Ramadan, don't relax your guard. Don't gather too many of you, because God is in all places. You can pray in the house, you can pray in the mosque, but a few of you, the issue is don't congregate. Don't congregate. This is the medicine. This is apart from the putting on the masks and so on and sanitizing your hands. But don't congregate. Observe Ramadan, but please avoid congregating beyond the minimum number recommended by the Ministry of Health. I thank you and I wish you a happy fasting season, Ramadan month. Thank you very much.
Now, President Yoweri Museveni has also met with a Kenyan delegation led by the Cabinet Secretary for Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development, Betty Maina, at State House in Entebbe. Among issues discussed include trade relations in light of recent developments like the ban on some Ugandan exports. President Museveni told his guests that competition has been generated by the fact that East Africans are trading in a common market, highlighting that ultimate logic of the East African community integration should be allowing efficiency and eliminating the irregularities with strategic analysis, not endless fights. The president noted that the meetings between the countries had reached a clear conclusion regarding the next course of action. The Kenyan delegation also delivered a special message to the president from their state head, Uhuru Kenyatta. Now, Uganda Premier Katikkiro Oweekitiibwa Charles Peter Mayiga has urged Ugandans to join the fight against HIV and AIDS and COVID-19 in order to have a healthy country and people. The call has been met by the Katikkiro Mayiga during the celebration of Kabaka Ronald Muwenda Mutebi II's 66th birthday at Bulange, Mengo, held under the theme Youth Tech Lead in the Fight Against HIV and AIDS. The Kabaka was born on 13th of April 1955 at Mulago Hospital.
At 11 a.m., the Kabaka of Uganda, Ronald Muwenda Mutebi II, appeared before his subjects to kickstart celebrations to mark his 66th birthday. Before heading to the celebration venue, he received gifts from his subjects.
Mubuli saza, mubuli kabuga, mubuli katawuni wa naye na amakulu agajja kunnyamba okutambula okugenda mu bifo ebyo n'okusinga n'abantu baffe abalina obwetaavu, abalina okuyigirizibwa, abalina okuyiga enjiri ey'omulembe guno.
Engalo bene ngasala teke ey'emyaka 66.
Tulina essanyu lya nsusso olwa Ssaabasajja Kabaka waffe okuweza emyaka 66.
Under the theme of ending HIV and AIDS, the Katikkiro of Buganda Charles Peter Mayiga told the gathering that Kabaka's objective is to have HIV/AIDS eradicated from Uganda and other East African countries by 2030.
Twalwanyisaako obulwadde obw'okutonnya fistula, ne tulwanyisa obulwadde obwa nnalubiri sickle cell, ate kati tuli ku bwa mukenenya. Kyokka olw'okubalukawo kw'ekirwadde ekya COVID-19, Kabaka yasiima n'ekirwadde kino tukikolere kaweefube, tukirwanyise kubanga nakyo kya bulabe nnyo eri abantu be.
Due to COVID-19 pandemic, celebrations were attended by few people allowed at the kingdom to celebrate with the king. The Katikkiro urged the public to take the COVID-19 vaccine and disregard any misleading information related to it.
Mukama wange Ssaabasajja Kabaka, olunaku lwajjo bwe bankubya akayiso ne ŋŋamba abantu bo abatidde nti abazungu baagala kututta kutumalawo. Lwaki tebatutta nga bakozesa eddagala erisenya amannyo? Waliwo eritakolebwa beeru? Kampuni zonna ze mulaba ezo Colgate, Close Up, zonna za beeru. Tumukozesa ekiro nga tugenda okwebaka, tumukozesa nga tuzuukuse. Era banaalinda ssenyiga korona balyoke batutte. Wana abantu bayitirivu baakedde kumira Panado. Panado oyo abamukola ba kampuni za beeru tewaliyo n'emu eyaffe bweti. Abakoze eddagala liri bakola ne Panado banaalinda senyiga korona. Lwaki tebabattira mu Panado? Awo nno tubeerenga ab'omulembe omutebi, tukole ebijja mu mulembe omutebi.
The Vice President of Uganda, His Excellency Edward Kwanuka II, thanked Kabaka Mutebi for guiding and uniting his subjects and the good relations with government.
Ssaabasajja weebale nnyo okufaayo ennyo okulaba nti abantu baba balamu nga kino kirabikira bulungi mu ngeri gyowagira entegeka ebyobulamu z'obulamu byonna. Ayi beene weebale okunyweza obumu bwa Buganda ate n'enkolagana ennungi n'okugatta abantu ba Buganda mu Uganda ey'awamu.
At the same event, the Kabaka, who preferred not to address the kingdom, awarded 5 people with a precious stone for their outstanding work towards the development of kingdom and country at large. They included renowned traditional musician and dancer Annette Nanduja, Dr. Haji Ibrahim Mwanga Kibirige, former Chadondo County Chief Tofiri Kivumbi Mali Okweza, Mengo Hospital dentist Dr. Ken Chapman Chigozi, and Swick Insurance proprietor Dr. William Chiwanuka. Bernard Yiga, UBC News.
Now, the Prime Minister, Dr. Nakakoni, has told Parliament that curfew still remains until government is certain of the new wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. The response followed a matter of national importance raised by Kawempe MP Latif Sebagala, requesting government to do away with curfew. Our reporter has more on this.
What we wanted is to officially get the curfew out of our way. This curfew, I don't know what it meant to do. Is it to arrest the coronavirus or to arrest the suspects in the night?
These concerns result from a statement presented by the Prime Minister on adjustment of curfew. Dr. Nakakoni says curfew still stands so long as COVID-19 remains a threat to life at present.
But the issue of curfew hours will be looked into in the context of protecting the lives of Ugandans, considering that the pandemic is still with us.
The reasoning by members of parliament is that curfew has become a money-maintaining project for some security agencies. This has attracted the attention of Internal Affairs Minister JJ Odong, who says errant officers will be dealt with.
No, the roadblocks are there, but as long as you have money in your pocket, you remove. So there are money collecting centers.
We have taken note of this abhorrible act. On Thursday this week, I will be chairing the police authority and we will be taking action on officers we have already identified as culpable in this matter.
Members of Parliament want curfew hours adjusted, a situation government says is still studying. MPs are also concerned over contradictions and lack of coordination among government entities regarding curfew in relation to Muslim fasting.
I want to request that given the reality on the ground and the fact that already you are abusing SOPs that you put in place as government, just formalize the issue to allow Muslims to enjoy the holy month.
That message was sent in error. It has already been withdrawn because he is not authorized, first of all, to make such pronouncements.
At the end of the day, a consensus was not reached between the Prime Minister and members of Parliament.
When you give us reasons that really are difficult to justify, the values are there. What is special about 9 p.m. to 6 a.m.?
Nonetheless, the President of the Republic is expected to address the country on similar matters where such concerns will be clarified.
Now, the Budget Committee of Parliament has for the second time sent away Finance Minister Matia Kasaija after identifying several gaps as a presumed, that's after identifying several gaps, presumed updated budget framework paper for the financial year 2021-22 he had presented before the committee for approval. Now, the minister, among others, failed to satisfy the committee on the proposed funds to promote inclusive and sustainable growth at parish levels. Kasaija presented 400 billion shillings to aid in the drive to transform the 68% Ugandans from subsistence agriculture to commercial production. Let's take a look for the details.
As government continues to fight tooth and nail to implement its objectives in the National Development Plan 3 and the NRA manifesto accordingly, the questions of accountability are unavoidable in all corridors of power.
We release a lot of money when there are these crises.
The Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development is at the apex of ensuring accountability for the government resources. A most recent scenario is the Presidential Initiative on Wealth and Job Creation, referred as EMIOGA, which has continued to seek for more clarification from different stakeholders. Hardly a month ago, members of Parliament had questioned the difficulties and variations in accessing Emyoga funds.
But every village you go to, you are overwhelmed by the number of women that registered, paid the 150, and they don't know the future of the Emyoga.
That before you even think of what they took, even what they promised, never yielded.
As Emyoga initiative transgresses from an initially known as septic wound in the road to economic transformation, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development wants to secure another 400 billion in the budget for financial year 2021-2022 to support the implementation of the parish model to enable vulnerable individuals join the money economy and do away with the subsistence production. The Line Minister for Finance, Matia Kasaija, told the members of Parliament sitting on the Budget Committee that the move will also create opportunities for the manufacturing and service sector to grow.
It's poverty, it's really poverty. So we must overcome poverty to help our people to put up very respective houses. Even the central region here, if you go Tambara, the real problem is people are not producing for market. That's all. People are not producing. Many of the youth have run away from the villages in central region to come to look for green pasture in towns. And the land is not being produced. And yet, this is a place which has got plenty of capacity to produce and feed virtually every part of Uganda.
The MPs could not buy Minister Kasaija's plea, basing on the background of alleged government failed projects at parish levels, and asked him to reorganize his presentation before Thursday this week.
This endeavor is likely to have a lot of challenges, both at a budget level consideration, but even when we take it to a plenary, they are likely to be serious issues. Therefore, the branding and the packaging by the Ministry of Finance will have to be really smarter than what they've presented today.
Well, that detail I cannot give an answer. We'll come on Thursday. Okay.
The Budget Committee is chaired by Patrick Isiaji Opolot, the Member of Parliament for Kachumbala County. The budget for financial year 2021-2022 amounts to 41 trillion shillings. Daniel Mugoya, UBC News.
Now, the Prime Minister, Dr. Rhoda, has refuted claims that he plans to retire. His clarification follows social media reports that he wrote a letter to the head of state asking to be relieved of his duties. He was speaking to journalists at Parliament shortly after presenting a statement on the floor about the issue of lifting the curfew.
Becoming Prime Minister in 2014, Dr. Rhoda had served in various ministerial dockets, including Internal Affairs and Health, among others.
I will at all times well and truly serve the Republic of Uganda.
It is this passion for national service that has kept him strong all these years.
Revolutionaries have a responsibility to advance their revolution, to serve the population. And my role is to make a contribution in the service of the people of Uganda, in service of Africa, and I'm making that contribution.
In this commitment to serve the country, overcoming challenges has also been part of his national service menu. It is for this reason that he refutes claims of writing to the president asking to retire.
Those are lies. I have not written to His Excellency the President or talked to him about that. Take it that is a fabrication, a concoction by some people, and they put it in social media.
Describing social media reports as unfounded, Rhoda commits to serving the country to the best of his ability.
Our view is that we are serving the people of Uganda, and we serve them as and when we have the energy and As far as I'm concerned, I don't have immediate plans for stopping work because I believe that I'm able to work.
Dr. Rugunda became Prime Minister in 2014, replacing John Patrick Amama Mbabazi. He has served in this capacity since then, with several achievements registered, something he looks forward to consolidating. Henry Okurut, UBC.
Meanwhile, government is set to amend the Registration of Persons Act to provide for mandatory registration of all births and deaths. The requirement for the amendment was revealed by the State Minister for Internal Affairs, Obiga Kania. He was appearing before the Committee on Defense while presenting the ministerial policy statement.
Why? Because you will need things like letters of administration. You need to know your ancestry. All this should be documented. Then you need birth certificates, birth registration, so that your identity begins from the time you are born.
The Registration of Persons Act 2015 provides for registration of every birth and registration of every death by guardian or relative for planning purposes by the government. Although the Act provides for registration, quite a number of people have been considering registration of their deceased relatives during property sharing. With the government move to amend the Registration of Persons Act 2015, registration of birth and death is going to be compulsory for all nationals. The revelation to amend the Act was made by the State Minister for Internal Affairs, Obiga Kania, while appearing before the Committee on Defense to present the ministerial statement.
So what we are going to do is propose that we amend the Registration of Persons Act to include some compulsory provisions. And we may do this sooner than later. To compel people, we will be proposing to make these registrations compulsory.
According to Minister Kania, the compulsory registration will ease government efforts in planning for its citizens. However, at the moment, there are gaps within the Act that need to be amended.
We've had an experiment of now coming to about 10 years of registration of people. I think we've now a position where we think we can make it compulsory, where people should respond. Register death. It's very important.
It would be prudent indeed, like the minister was saying. I don't know whether it should even be amendment of the Act, but I think he should issue regulations that should guide the leadership and the population to ensure that they are strict about registration of births and deaths, so that we have a solid data bank in as far as our demographic figures are concerned to enable government to plan for the people.
On a similar note, Ministry of Internal Affairs has presented a budget of 25 billion for the transfer of National Identification and Registration Authority from its present premises at Kololo Indigenous Grounds.
We think NIRA being so vital should shift to a neutral place, an open place which can be easily accessible to people, so that the activities are not interfered by national services, and they give due respect to Kololo as a national ceremonial center.
Members of the committee tasked officials from NIRA to explain why the system is too slow and not reliable following several complaints. Apparently, NIRA remains subject of controversy over unreliable system of acquiring and replacement of national IDs. Susan Naong and Gloria Guitabinji reporting for ABC TV.
Now, lawyers for Rubaga North Councillor-elect James Mubiru, who is on charges of adorning attire resembling that of the Uganda People's Defence Forces, UPDF, want court to release their client. They communicated this after being told that their client was not to appear in court today since his case is still on the mentioned stage. James Mubiru's counsel, Wameri Anthony, appeared in court for his bail application, but the accused was a no-show.
And we have always objected trying civilians, especially politicians, civilians, opposition politicians, civilians, in military courts in the name of putting on a red beret. Red berets have a provision in the Penal Code Act where someone can be charged in the civilian courts. So for you to charge someone in the military police just because he's putting on a red beret is unacceptable. But most importantly, for you to remand someone in a military police cell after a military police hearing or proceeding is also illegal. And number 3, to deny access of counsel is very unconstitutional. That means Mubiru is being charged and prosecuted without his lawyer. Now that's not a fair hearing. That is irregular under Article 28, which is a non-derogable right under the Constitution. So in others, we cannot see Mubiru James, someone who has been in detention, someone who was charged without a lawyer, someone who has every right to see a lawyer but cannot see their lawyer. Yes, we are going to file a bail application, but it doesn't stop us from insisting that the body of Mubiru James is presented in the High Court, especially that the reason they give for remanding him in the military police is security reasons. So we need to know what security reasons have caused Mubiru James, someone that is charged with merely putting on an NUP red beret in a military court. What security issue is there that we do not understand? Because as these defense lawyers, we have the right to know what the security reason is. Because even not knowing the security reason is an insecurity to him.
Now, over 8,000 refugees from Changwali refugee settlement camp are facing eviction after some landlords claimed they were settled illegally. This comes after the Office of the Prime Minister started relocating people from Bukinda land measuring 3,574 acres from 28 villages belonging to Changwali refugee settlement.
During a session by the Presidential Affairs Committee of Parliament at Cheya Village, Changwali Sub-County in Chikube District, Sethi Teyebwa, one of the landlords, said he owned 3.5 square miles of land but was surprised when the Office of the Prime Minister resettled people there without his consent.
Resettle these people or take them back to their land and leave our land, because we have a land title of which we ascertained it through procedures, and we are legally owners of this land.
Residents told MPs that they were evicted from their land and allocated 2.5 acres each in a place they say is infertile and rocky.
konka kubagire kubagaruramo twaranza ebaruhe ruhakana rugunda yabira handikire twaranza atari kwekiri okuyabire negamba yakaba negamba ngo babanze baturebe batwetegereze batukorere biri kugwa tumone kubiha umwanya bakatugarura nkahe umugundi mwanya
obwiro bukayika bayija batubinga mu bibanja byaitu batubingire bakagamba iwe oraba utainemu iwe byawe urali mu kisaka.
Daniel Muheirwe is a petitioner and area member of Parliament, Buhanguzi constituency.
I have petitioned again Parliament to come and see where they have brought these people. Much as the other matter is still ongoing of ascertaining true ownership, they have again enforced an eviction, yet there is parliamentary stoppage. Some of these people are paying fees on timely basis, 3 million, 5 million. So if you bring him in this desert to start life afresh, that means their generation is going to die.
Chairperson Presidential Affairs Committee of Parliament, Jessica Ababiku, says they had gone to assess conditions in which the affected people are living so that they can make a final report before the 10th Parliament winds up business. Chief Administrative Officer, Chikobe District, Moses Kapolon, says the evicted people have been misled to the extent of rejecting government's developmental programs. To that effect, 2.8 billion shillings was returned to the Treasury in the 2019-2020 financial year. Jolly Kebironji, the Changwali refugee camp commandant, says they had started the exercise of resettling the people, but due to COVID-19, they couldn't make it. Changwali Refugee Settlement Scheme was established in 1960 when the then Omukama of Bunyoro Chitara Kingdom, Satito Wing, allocated land to government during the colonial rule.
And a day after police spokesperson Fred Enanga came out to ask those with catapults to surrender them to security, farmers are demanding for clarity over the issue. Francis Ogema, a commercial farmer in Lira, says he uses his catapult to chase birds and animals from destroying his crops on the farm. Now, he argues that security should only interrogate the intention of criminals using the device rather than condemning it entirely.
Moses Ayo is one of the cultural leaders in Langon. Ayo, like any other boy child in this region, was trained at 7 years on how to make and use a catapult by his parents.
Even better than the
Decades later, Ayo has also trained all his children on how to make this device to help them drive off animals and birds from the rice garden. Francis Ogema, a commercial farmer, also shares the same thought.
When I come to the gun like this, when I was moving, didn't you see the footmarks of squirrels here? Now they're going to start destroying my cassava. What will I do? Should I go and get a gun to scare them? No. I use that one.
However, lawyer Moses Okot Bitek, also Kyoga County MP-elect, says Echiriri cannot ban use of catapults.
Catapults, spears, axe, bows, arrows are part of the cultural regalias that are integral farfanarias of Lao cultural practices and norms.
A catapult is an ancient device used to launch a projectile a great distance without the aid of gunpowder. It uses a sudden release of stored potential energy to propel its payload, normally made of clay or bearing, placed within the device before released via elastic material. It's normally used for hunting and protection.
That's my protection. I'm not using a gun to scare animals from here. What about people who grow rice? You go to Olwanyi rice scheme here and see. There are too many catapults being used there, because this bird comes in millions. So once you throw one, it's going to go a longer distance and all the birds from there will run.
In fact, among your peers, if you have not shot a bird growing in the community that I did grow, you are not considered somebody who has become man enough.
Since ancient times, the catapult has proven to be one of the most persistently effective mechanisms in hunting delicious animals and birds in the bush.
So there is no amount of legislation that will control the possession and usage of catapults. Enang and the police basically should do is to treat the major cause of the crime rate that is within Kampala and the country at the time.
Farmers now want the directive to be applied in urban centers only, since if upheld will affect crop production in rural areas. Eddie Oloa, UBC News.
Now, defeated NRM candidates in the recently concluded general elections from the Chadondo East constituency under their umbrella Chadondo East NRM Flag Bearers Association have met newly appointed Deputy Resident District Commissioner of Kasangati. The meeting was meant to discuss ways how the party structures in the constituency can be revamped.
Political differences among rivals in the recently concluded elections continue to rage on, despite of who carried the day. big political wigs not spared, they still live in oblivion, asking hypothetical questions on what ought to have gone wrong. This wave has tempted the defeated 68 councillors and an aspirant for an MP seat for Kyadondo East constituency, all belonging to the NRM party, to meet the newly appointed Deputy RDC of Kasangati to mitigate ways on how to revamp the party structures and support in the constituency. Paul Mujuzi, who contested for Member of Parliament for Kyadondo East, and Daniel Chibirige for Councillorship Nangabo B all on NRM ticket, attribute the party's loss to lack of structures in the constituency, government programs that don't reach the electorate, the confrontation opposition leaders, amongst others.
I didn't win a very clear. Kyadondo East lacks infrastructure. There is no single Tamaka road in Kyadondo East. There is no single market. As Kyadondo East has been having leaders who are more confrontational than developmental.
Applying ourselves into positioning us, general, in production, in things that can develop someone.
However, Maria Nankunda Peace, who stood for Woman Councillor Kasanga Town Council, blames those within the party for not delivering services to the common people.
Tekyagwa nti lwansonga nti tebakyagala bakyagala naye olw'obusungu bw'ebyo aba NRM abaliyo abatatuukiriza ebirina okutuuka wansi.
Paul Mujuzi has called for affirmative action within the NRM party rather than wasting time complaining about the election laws.
They were not putting the interests of the people at the front. They just don't care what is going on. So I want to change all this.
Poor roads and health infrastructures have been cited as a prior challenge in service delivery among the locals. And speaking to Joseph Mawanda, who's been deputy mayor for Kasanga Town Council for the last 15 years, accused the ministries for delays in releasing money to do the works.
Ministry ekola ku byenguudo bagenda ne bakwata baba contracts. Wamala okuba contract ne balwawo okubawa ssente basobole okutandika okukola emirimu egyo.
Moses Jemba, the newly appointed deputy RDC for Kasangati, has asked them to work hand in hand for the good of NRM party.
It is to be done before the next generations come into place. We need to come together and accept where the problem has been and see how best we can deal with these problems.
Ivan Juko, reporting from Kyadondo.
Now with that, we take a quick break. When we return, more details. This is News Tonight.
Today tastes like a new tradition, like an old favorite. Tastes like all hands on deck and all eyes on the prize. Today tastes like a piece of the action, and it never tasted this good.
That's their way of stopping HIV. What about you?
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Today tastes like a new tradition, like an old favorite. Tastes like all hands on deck and all eyes on the prize. Today tastes like a piece of the action. And it never tasted this good.
Welcome back. You are still watching News Tonight. Now in business news, there will not be a momentous occasion to officially mark the signing of the long-awaited and much talked about final investment decision in the oil and gas sector. According to Dr. Goreti Hitutu, the Minister for Energy and Mineral Development, the recent signing of 3 key agreements has already ushered the country into the downstream phase of the oil and gas sector. This was disclosed at a stakeholder engagement with the media in Kampala.
The signing of the key agreements at State House in Entebbe on 11th April marked the launch of Uganda's oil and gas projects and also paved way for the East African Crude Oil Pipeline Company to award the main engineering, procurement and construction contracts. According to the Minister of Energy, the much-anticipated phase in the oil production has been kick-started, hence there won't be a special day designated for the signing of the final investment decision.
The conclusion of these key agreements for the ECOP is a major requirement for the announcement of the final investment decision, abbreviated as FID. It is important to appreciate that there is no document that will be signed for or called FID. The project launch on Sunday, 11th April 2021 at State House in Entebbe is a demonstration of the commitment the respective governments and oil companies have for the projects.
Government and the joint venture partners estimate that the first oil will be within 4 years, with the actual construction of the East African crude oil pipeline to start later this year.
The question of schedule, which one is ECOP first or the upstream first? I think they go hand in glove. All the projects go hand in glove. There's Kingfisher, Tilenga and ECOP. They all need to start at the same time and they all need to complete at the same time, because the oil, the whole objective overall is that the oil will flow from the wells in Kingfisher and Tilenga through ECOP pipeline and be sent to world markets from the port of Tanzania, Tanga in Tanzania. So the whole system is interconnected and the construction needs to reflect that.
Ugandan companies are expected to gain capabilities to provide technical services that have hitherto been a reserve of the more experienced foreign companies.
We are moving to conclude all these other processes of awarding contracts, of making sure that everybody is compensated, and then we proceed. And we think we will start construction this year.
Employment of Ugandans. This will be through direct employment of about 14,000 people by the company. Also indirect employment of about 45,000 people by the contractors, and induced employment of about 105,000 people as a result of utilization of other services by the oil and gas sector.
Government of Uganda has committed to ensuring that processes leading to fast oil bring enhanced economic benefits for the country while maintaining a good return on investment for the investors.
The recently signed agreements between Uganda, Tanzania and the joint venture partners are a commitment from both governments and the oil companies that work on ground is about to start. And with this lies plenty of employment and investment opportunities for both Uganda's public and the business community. Charlotte Amuge for UBC News in Kampala.
The Muslim fraternity in Uganda today commenced the 30-day holy month of Ramadan. However, many people are wondering how some standard operating procedures put in place by government to curb the spread of COVID-19 will be upheld, considering that some religious activities coincide with the 3 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew. This Ramadan season is the first since the partial lifting of the lockdown, and our team went out to find what new ways the Muslim community has adjusted to.
At the Kampala City Abattoir Mosque, Muslims are seen reciting the Quran as they prepare for the Dhuhr afternoon prayers. However, this time, the prayer schedule will be slightly adjusted to enable compliance with the COVID-19 SOPs.
Mu lukiiko olwange twakituulako ne tukiteesaako nti swala ya Aisha yebeddirira essala ya Tarawe. Tumala kusala Aisha ne tuddako essala ya Tarawe. Ndi essala ya Isa ebadde esaalibwa nga ku ssaawa 2 dakiika nga 10 oba 15 awo. Kati twagisise neba ng'eri ku 2 zennyini. Kati imaamu waffe ne tumugamba embeera eriwo agimanyi. Kati abasiraamu baffe abalekerayo eddakiika nga 2 bwe tuba tutandise ku 2 dakiika nga 10 abalekerayo eddakiika gali 2 ag'okusobola okudda eka.
Haji Haruna is cognizant of the vital role that smartphones are playing in helping Muslims access sermons and prayers, and believes digital communication will greatly help COVID-19 SOP compliance during this Ramadan.
Technology ayambye nnyo era nsanye ntwala okwebaza kwange eri amasheekhe baffe abakola emisomo egyo ne bagituteeramu. Waliwo n'emikutu emirala nga Thuraya gyani egyo giyambako. Nejiba nti omuntu alina essimu eri asobola okufuna ka message nti olwaleero tulinayo seeka gundi oba olina obudde n'omutuulako n'okola ki n'osoma. Naye data ono atumenya ogenda okulaba ka vidiyo ak'eddakiika 3 kakuliridde bingi so ng'ate ennyingi za ntono.
For instance, Airtel Uganda has introduced Ramadan voice and data bundles to enable those fasting access online summons. Joeri Nabakaziwa, head of data and devices at Airtel Uganda, says the Muslim fraternity will benefit from this offer during this holy month.
It's all about being, inclusive and respectful of the period. We know that during this time, customers are out there, busy praying up to 7. They're engaged after 7 with fasting. So these bundles are customized for a time when they have sat down, they've relaxed, in a period when they need to be prayerful, to catch up on their different prayers, and also to catch up with friends and family.
The holy month of Ramadan runs for 30 days, and this year it has started on the 13th of April and is expected to climax next month on Thursday, 13th of May, 2021, to mark Eid Mubarak when the moon appears. Wadulo Mark Arnold, UBC News in Kampala.
Meanwhile, Fisheries Protection Unit on Lake Edward and George has warned the fishing community of likely impacts on moving fish cargo without approved permits and operating licenses. According to the Fisheries Operating Sector Commander, Lieutenant Musa Mugogo, all people involved in any fishing activity in Kasese should be in possession of eligible documents to allow them conduct business. This was during a sensitization meeting of fishermen and the business community held at Kahondero landing site on Lake George.
There has been growing concern of misuse of waters on Lake Edward and Lake George by unlicensed fishermen in Kasese district. The concern by fisheries operations sectors follows several illegal activities going on in the two lakes, mainly by unlicensed personnel. During a sensitization meeting of fishermen and fishmongers held at Kahendero landing site, the fisheries operations sector commander Lieutenant Musa Magogo noted with concern the growing number of illegal activities by unlicensed persons.
About the illegalities which are occurred on Lake George. Majorly here, very many people who are fishing, they have engaged in illegal fishing using illegal gears, illegal boats, illegal nets. Then the transporters, the mongers have also engaged in transporting immature fish.
Lieutenant Magogo tasked all those intending to continue operating on these lakes to register their fishing boats, acquire operational licenses for eligibility in the waters.
We came to sensitize them that before we arrested them, they are aware of the law and the repercussion that will cause on their side.
He further sounded a warning to whoever will fail to comply with the laws protecting the water bodies that they will not be spared.
Paying a fine is something light to them. To me, I would prefer custodial. If someone is in prison like 4 or 5 months, will be discouraged from dealing in illegalities.
The chairperson, Kahendero Landing Site, Peter Busenge, noted that some people intentionally sell off their licenses and take advantage of the laxity by fisheries operation.
Waliwo abantu abatafuna mukisa okuweebwa license ez'amaato, abatafuna amaato ga license. Abo ekiseera ekimu oluusi osanga olinga alina akaato akatono akatakkirizibwa. Abo abantu abakozesa obwato bagaba mu paaka.
Once people don't comply in tax payment, then enforcement will be enacted.
Some fishermen at Kahendero also had complaints on several laws governing the lakes, notwithstanding high taxes and regulation on the types of boats.
And Uganda Free Zones authorities to embark on a country-wide sensitization drive on the benefits of investing on free zones across the country. This was disclosed at the Business Forum in Kampala, targeting entrepreneurs in the agriculture value chain. Uganda Free Zone is premised on the need to address macroeconomic challenges and promote rapid industrialization.
The forum in Kampala sought to enlighten the business community on the opportunities presented by the Free Zone scheme. Uganda Free Zones Authority officials, led by the Executive Director Heski Momi, engaged the business community in the agricultural sector on export-oriented investment in the Free Zones.
So it's about giving people the incentives they require to be able to be competitive in both price and quality. There are products that will produce here, and we Ugandans will be happy, to consume them. But the international market will be unhappy.
The Free Zones Act emphasizes the importance of Uganda's private sector in the country's industrialization agenda and places the private sector at the forefront of the development of the Free Zones.
This forum was very good for us. It has enlightened us in most of the activities which we do as business people, and I feel like the forum is bringing us together.
Taxes have been a very big thing in importing machinery, in all things that we use in our processing. So if a free zone is going to waive away this, then it is very much interesting.
Tax incentives in free zones apply to both local and foreign investors, private and those in public free zones across the country.
On the domestic side, we have a 10-year tax holiday that applies to a developer and also an operator in an existing free zone, for as long as you meet the investment threshold and also thresholds concerning employment and export. Then if you export more than 80%, which is a criteria for free zone, you benefit from a tax, corporation tax, 0% corporation tax exemption for 10 years as well.
Uganda's free zones are premised on the need to address macroeconomic challenges, particularly low industrialization, unemployment, and the high current account deficit.
There should be no taxation within free zones. But that's notwithstanding, they are customs controlled. Customs control means that the revenue authorities globally monitor what goes on in free zones. Because you've been exempted from taxation, it doesn't mean that you get involved in illicit trade.
All free zones in Uganda must export 80% of their goods out of East Africa to benefit from the tax incentives government provides for free zones developers and operators. Dennis Igoa for UBC Business.
Meanwhile, the Executive Director of Good Care Uganda Foundation, Lucky Guma Moses, is calling upon government to support them in their innovation projects. Mr. Guma made the appeal during the launch of CUBE's machine, which is aimed at fighting the spread of COVID-19.
Non-government organizations have come out to compliment government efforts to fight the spread of COVID-19 amongst Ugandans. The latest is an innovation of a machine that is used in sensitization of public areas to reduce the risk of contracting coronavirus. Mr. Guma urges the government to embrace this innovation, arguing that it is in line with Buy Uganda, Build Uganda, Bobu initiative.
When the government talks, it's just awakening you up, the youth, the people. Sit down and you look at it, any means of how best can you do the technology. So when I met my friends and visited them, we found out that they are doing this in their country. And when they are doing this, our duty was to make sure, how can we make sure we support Ugandans? One, to run the technology. Two, to train the Ugandans also to go and learn how to do it. Three, to invite them even to come and manufacture this, set up a factory that can manufacture this from Uganda.
The principal medical officer at the Ministry of Health, Dr. Mtumba Robert, welcomed this innovation.
It has no effect on humans. These are the disinfectants that actually health workers are already using according to, I don't want to go into the detailed chemistry, but these are the already known disinfectants that. But this particular technology now is dispersing or releasing this disinfectant, like in sort of a vapor form to clean the air.
Isaac Bagaya reporting for UBC News.
In sports, after a long wait, the 2020 Tokyo Olympics are now just 100 days away. Uganda has joined the party with the launch of a countdown ahead of the games, at which the country is ably represented.
Uganda Olympic Committee, alongside government and partners, has launched the 100 days countdown to the Tokyo 2020 Olympics.
And of course, we raise awareness of the games to the Ugandan citizens as well as the fans out there. And of course, we would like to use this to support our team Uganda as they prepare for the games.
The Tokyo 2020 games were postponed due to COVID-19 and a new date of July 23rd, 2021 set as a start time at various venues across Japan. As of now, the qualified cast for Uganda includes runners rower Kathleen Bowe and boxing host David Kavma, Catherine Nanziri and Shadir Bwogi are shaping up.
Oh yeah, because of us. I won't say much, but I'm just excited to see you all here because of the games, and you're all united because of the games.
We are working very hard with my team to see that I give in my best in Tokyo, as well as with my teammates Nanyondo, Sagara and others here again. Everyone is committed to work hard, and we know we are going to give in our best.
With the big medal prospects lined up on Uganda's cast at the upcoming Olympics, government support is guaranteed.
We have moved fast to, one, address ourselves to ensuring that these athletes have been put in the camp, especially the athletics team in the Buko and Kapchora, fully funded by government. The second aspect is that we continue to support all the qualified athletes and potential athletes with some funding from government.
The 100 days countdown launch has also been a sight for a partner, with Absa Bank joining the queue with a 54.5 million Uganda shillings to cater for basic logistics.
Today we are announcing our partnership with the Uganda Olympics Committee, and we are
saying we are sponsoring the athletes to make sure their medical health, the training and the training kits is taken care of. And for that we are committing a sum of 54.5 million shillings.
The Ugandan contingent will be led by Joshua Cheptegei and includes Jacob Kiplimo and hopefully 2012 Olympics marathon champion Stephen Kiprotich, who this weekend is in Netherlands for a qualifier. John Barnes, Sentamu, reporting.
Meanwhile, talk of town in the sports circle locally, though, is about Cranes captain Dennis Onyango hanging his national boots and the upcoming FIFA presidential elections. Mujib Kasule is back to challenge the incumbent FIFA president, Moses Magago, while others have mixed reactions over Onyango's retirement.
Mixed reactions over the retirement of Cranes captain Dennis Onyango hit social media Monday evening. To many, they believed Onyango still had some years of football action left in him, donning his famous jersey 18 for the Cranes. Players like Joseph Ochaya, Alan Okello and the local football body congratulated Onyango upon his achievements. The Mamelodi Sundowns shortstopper had a 16-year football career with Uganda Cranes, competing at 2 African Cup of Nations.
Onyango tali tayarinze, Waso Hassan tali tayarinze. Naba abalala abanavaayo embeera bafosinze okuva mu mupiira. Omupiira gubagoba muki mu mupiira. Naye gwani afosinga Onyango okuva mu mupiira.
Meanwhile, the director Pro NFC and ex-Uganda Cranes player Mujib Kasule has joined the race for FIFA's top job. While declaring his candidacy, Mujib promised to lead the struggle to reclaim Uganda's football glory. Mujib explained that he has enough experience to lead the football governing body, the Federation of Uganda Football Association FIFA, having served as vice president in the same federation and club administrator.
The players own the game, whether current or past. But now FIFA is arresting and jailing players, taking them to prison, fighting, doing everything they should.
Article 39 of the FIFA statute provides that for one to stand for the position of FIFA president, he must be between 31 and 69 years of age and must have served football for at least 7 years. In his manifesto, Mujib pledges to prioritize the domestic league, saying it's more important to develop players and should be allocated more resources.
Well, that does it for news tonight. Thank you for sticking with us. Elizabeth Nakakoni on sign language. I am Rhoda. Ngonzi. Have yourselves a lovely night.
It is intellectually engaging.
Court does not sit to waste its time. If you have no defense, it chases you.
It is a ruling on the foundations. Business has been conducted in a certain way.
Banks take money from us, depositors. All of us seated here have got money in the bank. And even before you walk out, they've given that money to somebody else.
Deeply incisive.
Here is a credible alternative political force.
Let's get into this election and let's choose right.
Through that vote that you will contribute towards building a new Uganda.
Authentically symbolic and insightful.
We should work so hard to evacuate this power.
Behind the headlines, every Wednesday at 10 p.m. with Charles Odongto.
A very welcome.
Probably the most experienced talk show moderator in Uganda, with a team of illustrious panelists. Honorable Abdul Katuntu, a seasoned legislator, politician, and senior lawyer. Honorable Margaret Mohanga, a veteran journalist, legislator, entrepreneur, and development consultant. And Ramadan Bobi, an economist and university don.
There is no country which has lost, which has failed or has had collapsed democracy when it is above $6,000. So,
all on your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
This week on UBC.
So usually people, what happens is that people start businesses and the next week they are already getting money out of that business. Oh, it can even take you 4 years to break even, to ever break even. Because now I have learned, I know the tricks, I know that I'm still learning more about the business, but at least I have that experience of restaurants, how they run, how you shop, how you do
depending on the challenges you experience from the start.
Taxes, yes. But it's always challenging, and that is what kills most of our young entrepreneurs.
مرحب يا هلال أهلا أهلا كيف الحال قد غبت وإليك اشتقنا وانتهى بعدك صار وصال